Hi, Ashley. So, to start off, why did you choose "I've Got the Power" as your song to play out this evening?
Well, I realised that my three main policies, which is accessibility, awareness and activism, happen to coincide quite nicely with the AAA battery. And I thought running on a sort of power, energy theme might work quite nicely.
Oh, brilliant. Well, you referenced your previous experiences, such as being a long-time disability activist. How do you think this will benefit you in your role as disability officer?
I think I am quite familiar with the challenges that disabled students face and that disabled people face in society. I'm aware of the challenges that are posed by government cuts and the stigma that they face from society at large. And I think I have a very good understanding of, the issues that need to be solved at our university, and also how to lobby people to try and get them on side to help us fight these issues.
The mental health crisis has been a huge issue in York student politics in previous years, and of course affects disabled students. How would you, if elected, try to combat and help this serious issue?
This is quite technical, but the Graham report was released last year, and I think it has some very useful recommendations. And the first of these policies that I have, which I think can help mental health, is to improve signposting, because although there's a lot of strain on mental health services, a lot of students just don't know what services there are. And I think if we improve the website and make sure that people know exactly what NHS and university services there are for them, that can really help. And I'd also lobby for preventative mental health care funding at the university, because obviously open doors under strain. But if we perhaps channel a little bit of funding towards preventative care, that can really help. And I'd also like to follow through another recommendation, which is to increase mental health first aid training to frontline staff, such as porters, college welfare, because I think this is an area which is quite susceptible to mental health crises at the moment.
You talk about your regret that you didn't have more time to get involved with societies. Do you feel you would want to help disabled students get more involved in societies too? And if so, how would you go about achieving this?
Okay, well, one of my points is accessibility, and as far as that relates to sports and societies, I think the number one thing we can do is create a best practice guide, because I think some societies are really willing to make the steps to help their society become more accessible. They're not sure exactly how to go about that. So by issuing a best practice guide and running a training session for UC societies, we can really help them make the moves that they would like to make their society more accessible. And also I think just being a point of contact if anyone has an issue with a society, or a society wants to ask, how can I be more accessible as a committee member? Just being that point and saying, well, these are the points that you can do to open up your society to more people.
Okay. You say you want to address funding gaps and the financial burden on students. Where do you propose this money should come from?
Well, this is an interesting question. What I've seen from other societies is that you have these gaps specifically to non-medical funding, so scribes and helpers and sort of ergonomic support and equipment. Other universities have actually found it easy to develop a policy by working with their students' union and working with students to try and address some of these gaps. And I know that mental health funding is quite limited at the moment, but I think disability services could be looking into this issue and trying to make a move that like other universities have done, and looking into addressing these funding gaps, or just providing equipment like we've seen some equipment at the library to do with ease of reading, and perhaps the university could look into sourcing some equipment like that for the university for students to use.
Okay, your predecessor in their manifesto also talked about campaigning for improved accessibility. Do you feel this is something they have failed at achieving, or simply it is an ongoing process?
I don't by any means think that there's a failure on my predecessor's part. I just think moving towards full accessibility is, like you said, an ongoing process. I think there are always things that we can do to make things and societies and our university more accessible. And I think there's just always new issues that crop up. But I do think there are some issues that should have maybe been solved, not by my predecessor perhaps, but by the university, such as places that are not wheelchair accessible on our campus at the moment, particularly the Warren. And I think that should have been solved by the university a while ago.
Okay, what do you feel is the best way to get students involved in what you're trying to achieve?
Okay, so I'd quite like to raise the profile of the network. I'm aware that obviously there's a lot to do at university. People don't always have the time to come along to network. But I think I'd like to run events and meetups in colleges, not even just formal meetings, but just sort of trying to get people aware that DSN is there, because as a network, it doesn't necessarily have the most high profile. And I think people aren't necessarily aware of what DSN can do for them and what it does. And by sort of working with colleges, we can let them know.
Brilliant. Thank you very much.